Sometimes when I'm thinking about us, before we got lost and we parted, back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight. This time we're not safe and sound, not safe and sound. Back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight. This time we're not safe and sound, not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the news, the FPV news. How you doing tonight, Blunty?
Good. How's it going tonight?
Very good. We got a really action-packed news tonight. Well, a lot of hot news items.
That's true.
Very excited to get into them. I just realized that while the music was playing, I was replying to a comment on the live stream clips channel. I was just like, well, real quick, write this comment. I have to argue with this person. And then I realized I always share that screen with you so you can see the stuff I'm showing to the stream. I was like, you were just probably like watching me write the comment the whole time, right?
Oh, I actually wasn't, but I guess I could have.
It's like it's Blunt just looking over my. I literally finished the comment just in time.
I heard your furious typing. You know?
Yeah, I finished. I will argue with you on the internet in the interstitials when the music is playing on the live stream. Apparently. Oh, welcome everybody. We are going to be doing FPV news. We got some hot news about the O3 Air unit, about the HDZero goggles, the Caddx Walnut. Like it's just so much new stuff is happening. And we're going to get right into it. Ryan Quellet, right here in the chat, in case anybody has questions about the HDZero goggles. He keeps coming around, even though I keep saying tepid things about his favorite control, and I feel bad. He's such a nice guy, but he keeps coming back. So there you go. But today we'll probably have very, very exciting things to say because the HDZero goggles are pretty freaking exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're going to start, as we always do, with public service announcements. We're going to just got a couple of quick things that are so critical that we want to make sure you don't miss them. And the first one is a problem that I thought had been solved a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I suspect Holybro might have thought the same. So we're PSAing it to you guys because there doesn't seem to be any movement from the other side. They've been contacted and told about this and stuff. So, yeah, basically, if you check the first link, I'm not sure.
Hang on. I don't know what's happening right now. What is... But the screen that I'm sending is not a screen that is actually... Where is that coming from?
Do you have like a virtual browser open or something?
I don't...
No?
I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
Okay.
I literally have no idea what's happening here. This is a recording that I... Oh, haha. I got it. I must have accidentally drag and dropped this recording into OBS somehow, and it made a source out of it. Okay. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah. Continue.
Okay.
Interesting.
So, we got a report from a user, and I confirmed this with a couple other users that they saw the same thing. Unfortunately, this Tekko 32 F4 mini 45 amp is connected to the first motor pad. Basically, the first little motor pad there, similar to the picture we're showing you here. Basically, the inner ring, the metal in the standoff hole. The copper is connected to the copper of the motor pad. This is the case for all four corners and appears to be the same on this new Mini. And we're showing you a picture from an old ESC. This is the Tekko Metal F3.
This ESC is from 2-3 years ago, maybe. Had this problem.
Yeah, we talked about it on the news. They fixed it, and they released a new version of the Tekko Metal F3. So if you buy that today, some places even have a note like, this is an updated version, and don't worry. But unfortunately, it appears that they now have this problem on the Tekko 32 F4 Mini 45 amp. And whether it's their manufacturer or their choice, whatever, but this is definitely going to be a concern for anybody who does not use like gummies in this ESC.
Yeah. So what you've got, you can almost see it here, Blunty. You can kind of see that you've got the FETs, and the FETs are outputting current, and you need you see this trace right here, this big honking thick trace is what it looks like. That's how they've laid it out, and it's carrying all that current. And it looks like one of these FETs, I don't know which one, this is basically the trace that carries that current to the motor output pad, and it just goes right past this mounting hole, and there's copper on the inside of the mounting hole, and it's conductive, and essentially if you have metal standoffs, it just basically runs the motor current into the frame and fries. Well, like for example, if you had your air unit or your Vista or your whatever video transmitter metal touching the frame, it could just fry it.
Yeah, as we know, even like using screws on an air unit camera can like ground the frame, and that depends on like the length of your frame, whether it would make it, and the voltage. Like, it's just not something that we should be concerned with. It shouldn't be a problem. So
this is 100% a design defect. 100%. There's no excuse for this.
Yeah.
And to say, oh well, just use plastic. Like if it was grounded.
Well.
If it was grounded, I would be like, okay, mounting holes are often grounded. That's okay. But to put battery voltage or motor output is preposterous.
Yeah, it's a problem. And again, it's something that they recognize with the Metal F3. They put warnings on their pages and for all their vendors, and then updated it to fix it. And that's something that they have not done with this Mini. And we don't. And as far as I know, they have not updated because all the listings for the Mini are still this, the metal inside of the standoffs and still appear connected. So again, I had a couple of users test this. They also saw this, and one user had a huge issue. He saw this early. He tried to basically. He wanted to use it. He didn't want to throw it away, but he couldn't figure out how to use it without using vibration isolators. And he basically like bored it out and used a coating to coat it up. And then eventually the coating rubbed away and shorted. And he had
and you could, if you're using gummies, and I assume this ESC uses gummies, although I can't quite tell from the size of the holes. But most ESCs today use gummies. If you're using gummies, they will electrically isolate until the day that they rub through or something dumb like that. And then you short circuit. And you fry something.
Stack bends or whatever's going to happen. It's just not something that should happen. So.
No. Somebody in the chat, Jekli in the chat, argues that it might be not a design fault, but maybe it happened when they were doing the PCB routing. Wherever, from the customer's perspective, it's a defective product. Is my point. Don't buy this ESC, and it's a shame because Holybro ESCs, I think, have been pretty decent.
I agree.
don't buy the CSC. Holybro, fix this. What
Yep.
the F? This is unacceptable. So, okay.
Yep, and I would also ask that like vendors who still have these put warnings out and make sure people know that they buy them.
Good point.
Again, like I wasn't super happy with the Tekko metal, but at least there were warnings. At least people were told to use vibration standoffs, and so at least like that amount of clarity.
Yep. Okay. Well, we could try to contact stores that are selling this and tell them that this is an issue. I don't know, but we're doing our part to try to get the word out. We got one more PSA, and this one concerns the DJI Avata.
Yeah.
So it causes pilots to crash.
Yeah, I think we should preface this by saying the DJI Avata is going to be a lot of people's first Cinewoop, right?
Yep.
So like they're not going to understand mechanics or what this video is about, which is yaw washout essentially. They're not going to understand these things. And what we're going to see from the video is it seems like the Avata is not great at handling what is already bad for most Cinewoop situations. Like I've flown Cinewoops before, and in the 3-inch that I've flown, I've never had this bad of an issue. But we'll see here.
Right there.
Yeah, basically, it's roll into a yaw cut.
Yep.
And
right there. So that's pretty clearly, I think, the back right motor, like desynced or something. Well, so it looks like to me.
So from discussions, I think what's happening, and looking at other people's examples of this, we had some other videos that were shared around, and I know multiple people have had this issue, many of them causing crashes. It seems like it's just that the motor stalls because the motor's supposed to stall in the corner, and then it doesn't recover because either the way the software is handled or the amount of weight on the quad or whatever's happening. I don't know if it's like a design issue necessarily, or if it's like a firmware problem with PIDs, or
like idle speed too low or something.
Yeah, maybe there's not a dynamic idle present, or maybe it's not catching up fast enough or whatever. But like, as you can see, that drops, and in about 2 seconds, it starts to recover to flat.
Oh,
but by that point, it's hit the rock, Yeah. And so, I don't know. It's hard to tell because, again, that, there's a lot of factors there. And this is something you can see typically from Cinewoops. But I think a lot of people who are new are not going to know that and are going to do this, which we've seen from, I've had double-digit reports of this from people.
Really, you would expect a DJI drone to keep itself within a performance envelope where it doesn't just drop out of the sky. So some people are saying it happens only in manual mode in fast turns, that if you keep it in normal mode or in one of the other modes, then it won't happen. Do you know if that's true?
That seems to be the case. I have not seen, basically the other videos I've seen have been DVR footage. They haven't shown the mode, and this video we're seeing shows the mode.
Okay.
But yeah, I think there's just a question of like, if you do this on a Shendron Squirt, would you crash into the ground?
Oh, no.
In that same case, right?
Like when you first showed me this, I joked and I was like, haha, a Cinewhoop that's bad at strong yaw moves. Of course it is. Yeah. But a Shendron Squirt perhaps it'll dip a motor, perhaps it'll pop up in the air. It'll get unsettled, but it won't just crash into the ground.
Yeah.
That just shouldn't happen.
I think that's the problem. Is it seems like it's like it's almost like somebody like smacks the corner, because it drops so far, and that combination of moves, whatever's happening there, kind of causes it to drop. So I would say, to me, because we know that other Cinewhoops can do this, and I doubt that it's a power problem. Maybe it is, but I would hope that they can fix this or they can maybe have some warning on rates, or maybe there can be some kind of like internal control mechanism.
That's interesting. What if the rates? Have these people turned up their rates higher than DJI expected, and they're trying to push it too fast? Supervin says Avata fails on fast turns. I tested it in race mode. When I turn too fast, it fails. So that's not manual mode.
That's not manual mode. That's correct.
Well, we shall see. For now, though. I think if you have the Avata, you might be careful. The thing is, how do you know how hard you can push it?
Well,
right?
I think one of the things I would say is, it does seem to in all the videos that I've seen that are high enough up or that have small enough issues, like it recovers. And in this video, I do believe it would have recovered if it hadn't fallen the 5-10 feet, whatever is in the video, right? So it's not the best thing in the world, but I would say, like, if you do want to find out, you could probably test this at an elevation and then have it catch as it falls and then recover as it's been doing. However, who knows if there's some internal failsafe where if it sees it tilt far enough or something, it's just going to drop. I can't promise you that it's not going to do that. So I would hope DJIs won't do that, but you're in manual mode and maybe it'll act weird. I don't know. There's a lot of variables there, right? Because it's closed source software that we don't necessarily know exactly the function of and exactly how it'll respond. But I would at least be wary of this. I know this is possible.
say what you will about the DJI FPV drone. It had a performance envelope in terms of its weight and its power, but I thought the PID tune was pretty respectable for something this big, as big and heavy as it was. It would fly within its own performance envelope, and at no point did it just go, nah, forget it, and just drop out of the sky. If you dive too hard at the ground, you might not have enough power to pull out, but it would fly.
I think to me, that's part of the concern and why we got to PSA this, because there are definitely pilots who are like, is this a problem? Is this like a flaw? Are these desyncs? And like, from my looking at many different cases of this, I really think it's just like the handling of the motors and the way the quad is performing versus a hard desync. But it is possible. So.
Maybe there's something that us grizzled FPV cinewhoopers know that even DJI doesn't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So. All right. Those are our public service announcements for today. We're going to get into our regular news, and we're going to start with a story about HDZero. HDZero goggles. The pre-order has been announced. The price, specs, details. Where should we start, Blunty?
Yeah, so let's just talk about. So we've talked a lot about HDZero goggles in the past and why they're exciting and all that kind of stuff. And we finally got the announcement that we were waiting on, which is a listing of the goggles. We finally got hey, this stuff is done. Here's our plan. Here's where we're going with stuff, and here's what's happening. So basically, what's going to happen is from what I heard, there's 100 sets of beta goggles. That'll be a 25% discount for testers. That will happen for invites, basically. That'll be invites only. And then everybody else will be offered this pre-order, and then goggles will be shipping hopefully before Christmas is the goal of the final goggle.
Wow.
So a lot of different things we know about these goggles. Obviously, these are going to be 1080p OLED, 90 hertz display. There's going to be 90 hertz cameras, which we've already seen in testing for these. So you can get faster frame rate, which means lower latency. You just get 540p instead. There's also 1080p 30 options for this. We've got all kinds of different things too, like the interlacing. Right, there's a new what is it? Basically, it removes the image vertical jitter by combining the fields better, and then you get better diagonal line resolution as well. So. We
looked at this yesterday on my live stream. We looked at Ryan Quellett's video, and I was I kind of knew what to expect because I'm vaguely familiar with the concept of interlacing, but just looking at the comparison of the footage, I was kind of shocked at how much better the analog footage looked from the HDZero goggles. The proper deinterlacing basically increases the usable resolution of the image. It's not just that there's a little less stair stepping on diagonal lines. It was so much better, and was really impressed. And was smoother in motion too. Although you only really saw it when you slow it down, but it's still there even when you're going fast.
It seems like the only downside is that we're working with past stuff, so you get OSD jitter because the OSD chip is expecting to have that movement or whatever is happening. So, and
does the OSD chip try to compensate for that?
Yeah, I think what's happening is it knows it's supposed to compensate for where it normally is, but because we don't have the jitter, it creates jitter in the OSD. That's my basic understanding.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That might be fixed at some point in the future with better OSD chips, or maybe even HDZero will do some kind of onboard implementation for the next solution, but like they did with the interlacer, right? So
yeah, I mean, Betaflight could, I suppose, if they wanted to. I don't know if that's true.
I don't think you can draw
does the
that
Max
fast.
chip?
Maybe you can. But...
Is the Max chip itself handling the up down of the? Oh. No,
I think so. I'm pretty sure it's like doing all the translations into signals, right? You're just sending data to the chip and it's handling that. So
yeah. So these goggles, one of the things people noticed was that the goggles are coming in at $600, which many people feel is a completely fair price given what the goggles bring to the table. Other people were hoping they'd be less expensive and sort of like a goggle for the masses. $600. You get an Orca for $600. You get a DJI V2 for less than $500. Is the argument that some are making.
So if you open up that, I got a spreadsheet linked
Ooh,
that we could check out.
I love spreadsheets. You're talking my language, Blunty.
You know, I love spreadsheets too. So
tell me what we got.
All right. So I made like I was just trying to find a way to lay this out so people could get a quick idea what the difference is in prices. And obviously all options aren't there and there's a bunch of nuance, but this is very quickly just a layout. So, you know, if you look on the left, we've got analog only totals. So if you wanted to get into analog only, right, this is what you would pay with a Fusion module or with the built-in module of Sky04X. So
yeah, because Fusion is just as good in performance as Rapid Fire, but a little bit cheaper. So you're giving them the benefit of the doubt.
If you want to add $30, you can do that for the Rapid Fire to each of those prices. And so those are the only analog only options, and that's sort of where you pay. But then we've got also, you know, the different spots there for anybody who cared about the other price comparisons. But the main thing is column L there, the HDZero plus analog total, right? So this is what you're going to pay if you're going to combine the two things and you're going to want to use HDZero and analog in your goggles. And to me, this is really where it shines. Like otherwise, it's still like, I think there's still a decent like fair deal there, but I think here's where it really shines because, you know, for $780, you're getting 1080p 90 hertz OLED with a better deinterlacer for the analog side versus the best you're getting otherwise is Sky04X with its built-in module, which some people complain about with the HDZero setup.
It's not the best.
For 30 less with a lower resolution screen and 60 hertz. Yeah. So when you start to do comparisons, and this doesn't compare any of the other features, this doesn't compare all the other bonuses that you're going to get, this doesn't compare the open source nature and support, the 3D printed parts, like all the other things, right?
Did you take into account the price of the, Jekli's asking if you took into account the price of the module bay. I assume you did.
That does include the module bay, yeah. That's why it's $780 instead of $720 is what it would be with the Fusion plus $600 goggle.
Okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, the module bay is an add-on that you buy for the goggles. So it's $600 for the goggles, and then you pay $60, and that's how you get that module bay accessory that snaps onto the side and lets you do analog.
Yeah. Craig FPV thinks these destroy orcas in every way.
Well, the specs certainly do.
The specs do.
If you look at price, the thing is, if you're doing only analog and you don't care about HDZero, I still think there's a world in which you would buy other goggles. But the features on these are great. So if you're willing to pay more and get a better screen and get better deinterlacing and other features and also have HDZero in the pocket, I think that's where you start to say, like, that's where I'm going to step up to these goggles. Like, I think for analog only, it's a hard sell to say, here's the extra for something I'm not going to see on the analog part, right? Like the 1080 is not going to matter for analog. The 90 hertz OLED isn't going to matter for analog, but you now have HDZero in the box that you could throw on a quad. So if you have any interest at all, like, it's a bonus. Like,
and you could argue that if you're interested in analog, you should want the better deinterlacer because it really does make a difference. The flip side of that to me is I might rather, you got to have the module hanging off the side of the goggle. It's a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit weird looking and it's a little bit harder to pack perhaps because it's bigger. Yeah. Some people would say, I like the smooth lines of the, I don't know, the Sky04X or maybe the Orca. And they're going to say, I don't need the interlacer. I'm just going to get the Orca. But I would make an argument that anybody who flies analog and isn't interested in going to digital, like, I'm sorry, HDZero is also digital. I apologize. Anybody who flies analog and isn't interested in DJI or Walksnail for whatever reason should absolutely be thinking hard about flying HDZero because HDZero has almost everything good about analog, but better image quality and resolution.
Yes, I agree with that part for sure. I think, like, yes, there's a question of, like, it's really just about how much you want to pay, right? And what you're looking for in a feature set and, like, where your world's going to go. Like, you are going to pay, like, if you want to get into premium analog, I think people would consider Sky04X V2 an option for that, and that's $530. Right? The cheapest you can get into analog with a good module for the HDZero goggle is $780. Right? So you're paying $250 more to get into analog with these goggles and also the HDZero.
Basically the price of the HDZero receiver. Yeah, exactly.
However, you're getting better analog deinterlacing and you're getting 1080p 90 hertz OLED.
That's compelling.
So it's like, right, that's the thing here is, like, if there's a planet where you would buy an HDZero VRX and fly it, it probably behooves you to just spend the extra money and buy the HDZero goggles.
And my argument, and I know I'm repeating myself, but my argument is that if you fly analog, I don't think there should be many people in the world who just say, I fly analog and I'm just not interested. The minute you fly a tiny whoop with HDZero on it, you're like, I never want to fly an analog tiny whoop again. Kind of. I don't know how many people out there are going to go 100% HDZero on all of their quads. I think that somebody who is still flying analog for various reasons, but like then has an HDZero tiny whoop or something, and I think that makes these really compelling.
Yeah. One other thing we haven't noted, we're talking about these really good, and I appreciate through that, but we do have to note these are going to be a new piece of hardware from a company that has not made a goggle before.
That's
so
true.
like we have to consider that there will be 100 tests out there. There are people who got a 25% discount, but will still pay money for the goggles. And so I think we'll get pretty good results from those 100 people getting them, and we'll find out. They're invite only, but they should be at least still people who are, they spent their money on the goggles. So we'll see what they see.
We got a couple comments here I want to acknowledge. Johnny 5, by the way, good to have you here, Johnny 5, asks, will it be possible to add improved de-interlacing to other goggles? Is that a hardware thing that's built in, or is it software?
I think my understanding is it's in like the display driver. So it's like in the actual, like you would have to replace the display panel setup of the goggle. So I don't know what feasibility that would be. Like
we're not going to get a firmware update to the Orcas that...
I don't think you're going to get, you're definitely not going to get a firmware update. If you could get it in like some piece of hardware you would buy that you could like exchange by opening your goggles, maybe, but like that's the only extent you're going to get. Because the whole problem here is that everybody's using the same de-interlacing chip, and that's the one that's not great. And HDZero is just using their own, they're made their own emulated version of that, which fixes all the problems. So
Carl Zhao, man. It's like he's just like this thing sucks. I'm just gonna make my own.
Yes,
that's crazy.
That's the benefit of HDZero. I mean, that's the benefit of having Carl is he just fixes it. He's just like, this is a problem. Here's the solution. Let's do it. And it's great.
There was another question that I wanted to acknowledge, which is I can't find it. Shoot. One more second. Nope, I've lost it. Oh, well.
Also, one other thing we should mention is just that, like, maybe you want to flip back to the chart real quick.
Yeah.
And while we're covering the comparisons, it is just worth considering that, like, if you like smaller box analog in the laggy DJI goggles, you can do that for $610, and you get DJI. DJI is $429 right now, and Dominator is $600. And once Dominator gets a VRX, I think Sharkbite or the HDZero goggles will be even more appealing.
That was the other comment. Yes.
Yeah, once you have a VRX and something else to plug into the HDMI that the HDZero goggles have, then suddenly there's even more benefit to, now I've got 90 hertz 1080p for the Walksnail link that I have plugged into the thing, and that only costs me $250, which currently no other goggle will be able to do. Right? There's no comparison because Dominators can't. There's no HDMI in the Dominators, so there will be no other solution for that, and it will be the best one by far. So,
right. Yeah. That was it. The Walksnail module that Walksnail says they're working on that will further cement, because that'll give you DJI
100%.
style Walksnail variable latency through the HDMI input. It'll give you HDZero fixed latency built in and analog. This will be the Swiss Army knife. The only thing it won't do is actual DJI.
Yeah.
Which is going to be mighty tempting. I think that could boost Walksnail sales.
It'll depend on what price of the Walksnail VRX comes in, but if they could land it at like 220, 230, 250, for $1,000, you could have, like you said, variable latency digital. You could have fixed latency digital and analog and cover all the bases and fly everything you would want with one set of goggles, which is pretty appealing.
Very tempting. Very tempting.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be a funny world if this goggle outsold the HDZero VTXs? If people were like, this is a great goggle, I'm going to take it.
I can definitely see that happening. I mean, well, it depends on how you look at it, right? Because VTXs are going to be multiple purchases and stuff. But I could see there being a huge portion of people who own these who do not buy a VTX for a while. Yeah. Right? Who just buy these and have the HDZero set up in there, and they want the nice goggles, and they've got the best thing, and then they can plug in the Walksnail VRX when it comes, and
you could fly HDZero on your tiny whoops, because HDZero really excels at the lightweight VTXs. You could fly
100%.
Walksnail on your 5 inches, and you could fly high power analog on your long range birds, all in one set of goggles.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. Okay. Well, looking forward to seeing more about that.
Yeah.
As time goes on.
So real quick, just just again, still hoping for the release of the final goggle before Christmas. They're hoping to take. I think they're hoping to like confirm all the orders and get everything handled and everything by like the end of November, and then like retailers will be listing them and stuff, and then final goggle delivery before Christmas. That's the goal. So.
Yeah. Skydrone views, you will not be able to put analog on the Walksnail goggles. They have no external inputs or expandability whatsoever. I mean, theoretically, they could release a new board for the internals that does something like that, but currently they are only compatible with their own system. Even DJI beats them at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the real question, Blunty, I know this isn't on our outline. The real question, Blunty, is, are the people who are spending $460 whatever to get the DJI goggles, the V2 goggles today, how long until that becomes a bad decision because the availability of that hardware becomes limited? No one knows.
Say $429. It's just so cheap. But yeah, it's. I think that there's so much hardware. I think we said this before, but there's so much hardware out there. Like, I don't think it's a problem.
Can I show you something?
Also,
go ahead, keep talking.
Sure. Yeah. The other thing is that, we'll talk about it in a couple stories from now, but there's a new 120 FPS camera coming like later. You know what I mean? There's still development happening through Runcam, who is the partner officially. So
yeah. Do you remember like a year plus ago, there was the shortage of Caddx Vistas? We were going to have like a 3-4 month shortage. And I said, stock up. And I went and I bought like 6 or 8 Caddx Vistas. This is how many I still have unopened. Actually, I think I opened one of them to take the antenna out because I needed a spare antenna. I literally just don't kill them. I just don't kill them. I haven't bought a Caddx Vista in over a year because I bought a shitload of them before, but I just don't go through them. And so if you do buy those goggles, like, chances are there's going to be a shitload of used stuff out there, even if DJI does stop making it. I don't know. Freaking thrift store Vistas.
I think it's going to be a long time before it's a problem, like years before it's a problem. I really do. Like, even if they cut them off tomorrow, like, I don't know. There's going to be a ton out there, and there's tons of used, and tons of people have stock, and like, I have more than I use. I have extras too. Like, I didn't even mean to buy extras, but like, I bought one for a build I didn't do, and there's just so many of them out there. So I don't think it'll be a major concern for people who are interested in getting in today. You'll get plenty of time, plenty of experience, and plenty of quads out of it. So.
Anyway, okay. Should I open these all up and upgrade the firmware? Am I going to get locked? Is DJI going to lock me out of these at some point? They wouldn't do that.
So far, we have not seen an update for the firmware since,
No.
The only.
I mean, if I literally, will they just stop being accessible in the assistant at all, and I'll be stuck on whatever firmware they're at?
Somebody can correct me, but I think you could still use the old assistant for Lightbridge.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Like, they put out an update for Lightbridge in 2019, and like the last real update was like 2015. So I think you'll always be able to get it in the assistant.
Okay, good.
All right.
Alrighty, let's move on. Enough shooting the shit. We got to be serious about the news.
Oh my God, it's the news. We're already 30 minutes in, and we've done 2 PSAs and one story.
It's going to be fine. That was a very important story. Never let it be said that we don't give HDZero its due.
That's true. Very true.
Now we're going to talk about the Caddx Walnut, which is exciting because everybody wants to know when the next GoPro Hero Session replacement is going to come out.
Where's the session at? That's what everybody's asking. Where's that session at? Please give me the session. I want the session the same.
Any more of them sessions?
Yeah.
Is this it?
Yes. Well, maybe, sort of. Seems all right. Basically is what I would say. So we got a sort of a half launch. So what we got here is basically like Makerfire seems to be taking orders.
Okay. Exciting.
However, the second link, if you can click that and show us that real quick.
Okay.
That imager link there. Yeah. Albert Kim posted 16 hours ago and said, I had to pull the Caddx Walnut review since Caddx decided to postpone the release to a later date. I do not know what that is yet. So I'm not sure why Makerfire's taking orders, but it seems like Caddx told him that they're not launching the camera yet. So he pulled his review, so we can't check that out. There are 2 more reviews I've linked if we want to check out any footage.
That are still up.
They are still up, yeah. That we could check out footage and stuff from.
Who's this guy?
I think I would say like there's definitely contrast issues
Shocker.
You know, and there's definitely some other problems, but as you can see, it's very similar to a GoPro Session form factor, which a lot of people are asking for.
Well, sure.
You know,
this footage is in French, so I can't really translate it for you. But
that's what for you know.
Why the fuck is it so overexposed?
I think that's part of the problem. Is that something I've seen in a lot of these situations? Is there's a lot of problems with footage, and he's got a 400 ISO, you know, on there. So
he says I think what this says is default settings, although I don't read French. But default.
I see default settings. Default. No ND filter.
Filtre ND without ND filter.
Yeah,
ISO 400
ISO. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, how much more could he stop down the ISO? That just seems like an overexposure problem.
Seems pretty bright.
Weird. That's weird. Like, that's just a firmware thing where the camera is incorrect. Like, I'm trying to figure out if he's, like, somehow locked the ISO to the point where but the camera should always be able to stop down the shutter. Right?
Yeah, at the end, he manually sets the shutter. He's got another shot where he sets it to 1/120.
Okay.
And that seems much better.
Oh, that looks pretty decent.
So maybe there's some issues with the auto.
I feel like for camera reviews, you shouldn't do flippy flops. I mean, it's a little hard to judge the image quality. His flippy flops are quite enjoyable to watch. But yeah, the exposure here looks okay. A little hard to judge the dynamic range, but it looks okay. I'm not seeing like super dark shadows that I can't, really see into. If you showed me this footage, I'd be like, yeah, it seems okay. It doesn't. I'm not sure it seems better than a Runcam Orange, though.
Yeah, or maybe different. Like a thumb, or there's a lot of options I think that might be similar. With similar weight or maybe even less, different form factors and stuff. So
yeah.
We've only got a couple videos up now. I looked around. I think Caddx probably just told people not to post yet.
Well, I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess the reviews looked shitty, and they were like, "Oh crap!" and they pulled it. I don't know.
I saw a lot of complaints. I definitely saw a lot of complaints. So
see right here, the trees are super dark, like no detail in the trees, little detail in the shadows. This isn't the worst I've ever seen, but it's not the best either. And of course, we're watching it on YouTube, and the image quality is getting mangled.
Just a reminder, this is listed on MakerFire at 179, which appears to be like, I heard like 150.
I thought it was supposed to be 139.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So I've heard different prices, and we don't have an official launch yet, from what I can tell. So, but yeah, they've listed at 179.
Oh, Jesus. 249 marked down to 179. That's just a total no-go.
Yeah.
That's a total no-go. It can't be that price. Runcam Orange, $109. That's what you got to beat. That's what you got to beat. That's a total no-go. Like, there's no world in which this is $79 better than a Runcam 5 Orange. I'm not even sure it's $1 better, but okay. Well, I guess we got to wait for two things we got to wait for. Caddx to go back to the drawing board and maybe make it a little better with a firmware update or something, or GoPro to drop that Session 6, baby, and they just put all this stuff in the ground.
That'd be real nice. So hopefully we see more leaks coming out from that.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Dominic Clifton says, how about some news about frames? What's the latest with the community-based frame projects? Hey, if you've got news that you think we should be covering, submit it to news@fpvknowitall.com. We can't find community-based frame projects. What do you mean?
Send it on over.
Send it on over, Dominic. Send us a link. BLunty will do the legwork, but you got to at least drop him a line. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that price is right. That 179 price can't be right.
I hope not.
Okay. Well, interesting. When the Runcam 5 Orange is the bar to beat, it's like, what has happened to this segment of this market? Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Next up, we have another new camera, this time from Runcam. Another DJI camera, BLunty. What's the big deal? There's tons of DJI cameras. Who cares?
This is one from Runcam, and it's 120 FPS, and they are saying it has better low light performance. So I think better needs to go in quotes. But yeah, they're basically comparing it to the DJI stock camera, and they're like, hey, this is a good 120 FPS camera, but the originals have problems in low light, and we think we've solved some of that. And to me, I don't know exactly what setting it is. Somebody else can tell me, but everything just looks more like blown out. I don't know, blown out, but like brighter. Like in all cases, I don't necessarily know that it's like handling the low light better. It seems like everything's just turned up. Maybe that's like EV or something.
So if it was, I'm looking at this shot specifically, Blunty, because look up here in the sky. If it was specifically overexposing, like if you just look at the ground, it kind of looks like the ground right here is maybe a half a stop brighter on the Wasp. But do you see that in the sky, the DJI camera is blown out here? Like we've lost these details. They're overexposed. Same with the buildings. Do you see that you can't see the details in this cloud? Whereas on the Wasp, you can see those details, and we're only blowing out the very, very innermost. So it looks like this has better dynamic range than the original DJI camera, which would be pretty impressive if true.
Because if you look at the color of like the dirt on the side of the road there, it's just like a totally different shade, you know? So yeah, pretty interesting.
Very interesting. Same with the shadows. Look at the shadows here. We're getting just a little more detail in these shadows, whereas we've got just a little more darkness here. This is very interesting. Very interesting. It could be a contender. Let's skip
forward a little bit. They've got a night shot in there. So there you go.
Here,
so this is where I was talking about, like, it almost seems like everything's just like, I mean, it definitely seems to handle it better, but it's almost like the wrong color. Like,
yeah, the night shot
looks more real.
I agree. The night shot, the left seems a little more natural. It has a little bit of a bluish tint on the right.
So
it feels like.
So that blue is what I see on the ground in the daytime.
It feels like there's,
But I'm sure there's something else going on. But like, to me, it's the same feeling of like that bluish tint is like, oh, the ground also looks like a different shade, and it's, you know, it's like brighter. But
it feels like there's just a little more image, a little more noise here in the sky, and like the black level is just a little higher on the Wasp. Like the blacks are just a little brighter, but without more detail necessarily. Maybe they're pushing. Oh yeah, no, you can really see here, like in this area, you can see some details here on the stairs where they're just completely dark. It looks like, and you can see just a little more here in the path, whereas the DJI is completely blacked out. Yeah. So I don't know if they're pushing the gain on the sensor, or if they're using. They can't be using a bigger sensor. I wouldn't think. But it does seem just a little more sensitive. I'm not sure. I think the Wasp looks better, to be honest with you. Although if I was flying, I guess I know which one I would want to use, which is the one that gives you more detail. If I were watching a playback, I think I'd prefer the DJI. Interesting.
All right. Well, that's a good sign, because Runcam is developing new stuff for the DJI system, which everybody's worried about dying. So
and it matters, because in case anybody doesn't watch the news every week, Runcam and Caddx and DJI are no longer working together. So the Caddx cameras, they say they're going to keep making the cameras, but they're not going to be sourcing the Vista Air unit, Vista VTX, or anything like that. So Runcam is eventually going to be the source for cameras, and VTXs for the V2 system. So nice that they're bringing us something.
Absolutely.
Cool. Keep it up for as long as that system continues to exist.
Yeah. In other news, DJI news, as far as the future of DJI, we have the first bind and fly listed by Foxeer. It has been listed with the Ocusync 3 air unit.
I have effed up the document. Hold on.
It's okay.
There we go. Yes, the Foxeer Aura 5-inch freestyle drone. You can get it with. It's kind of cool to see a single bind and fly with all these VTXs available. HDZero, sure. Vista, sure. Analog.
I think that's a 1 watt too. I think that's a 1 watt VTX. So.
Damn well better be for a 5-inch freestyle. It better be the 1 watt. And DJI O3. Now here's the question, Blunty. Did Foxeer just do this to troll us? I mean, it's not impossible.
So I don't think so. I think they maybe pushed it on accident, or they pushed it because they felt like it would push traffic to them or something. But I can tell you that like part of the reason we heard about leaks and we knew information about the OcuSync 3 air units was because people were getting demo units to try out for bind and fly setups at these retailers. Like I know that was the case. So I would guess that that's part of where this comes from. But part of the reason we're bringing this up is today is the 27th. And today was the rumored, as of 3 weeks ago, was the rumored date that we never got kind of reconfirmed of the OcuSync 3 air unit launch. And obviously today we didn't get a launch of that OcuSync 3 air unit. But not only that, we haven't gotten any leaks or any new updates or any teases or anything like that.
Nothing.
And I've waited to tell you until now. I got this about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, but I did get a report from somebody I can't reveal, a source I can't reveal, that said there was going to be a delay on the OcuSync air unit, and it was going to be somewhat substantial delay. But there was one source, and I don't want to like shake everything up for one source. But now it does appear that was correct, I do think. Are
you saying we don't just take one little leak and then make earth-shattering news?
Yeah.
Just to get clickbait stuff, but we actually
contrary to popular belief, we did not just spread clickbait and randomness. I try to source most of what I have from at least anonymous sources, and I was not able to confirm that. I asked a bunch of other people who were in the know, and nobody could tell me about a delay, so I waited. But it does seem that we were getting that delay in an unconfirmed date. Like I have not seen any new date, no information about release, and no real knowledge about what's going on. So
it's weird because, and so I can tell you that before the Avata released, people that I was talking to said that the Avata would not be releasing at the same time as the O3 air unit. And I was like, well, that's really strange because the Avata just has the air unit in it. So just rip it out and sell it as a separate retail unit. And they said, well, they don't want to do that. And I thought, well, is that because they just want to sell Avatas? Maybe they can only make so many air units and they want to sell Avatas. And they said, no, they don't want to hold the Avata until the O3 air unit is ready. And I thought, well, that's interesting. That's not a sourcing or a supply problem. That says that there's something about the O3 air unit that they're still sort of trying to work the kinks out of. And it sounds like they're still trying to work the kinks out of it for whatever that's worth. It's so weird to me because it feels like how could DJI have gotten this close to a product release and still be working the kinks out of something? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. One thing we do know, or one thing that we've at least heard very often, is that they really change these teams over a lot. And then a lot of the teams that we're seeing, like, the Avata team is completely different or mostly different from the FPV drone team. And that was completely different from a lot of the Air Unit and Vista team. And so if that's the case, and a lot of these people have cycled out or gone other places or moved to different departments, there may just not be a lot of understanding about pushing this stuff for the FPV systems and how they're mounted and like what all the stuff goes through and the abuse and all that stuff. So maybe they found major issues in testing they didn't feel comfortable releasing. So, and these new designers weren't familiar with the same issues that the old ones were. But otherwise, it's obviously we're just speculating. We don't really know. So.
Yeah. I would like to say regarding our editorial policy about leaks is we're not right 100% of the time. We'll always try to disclose when we're giving you something we think is a reliable source or a fact versus a leak or a suspicion. We try and let you know what the uncertainty bars on this. And but we are selective and only try to release information that we think is reasonable to share and not just like one dude said it and now we're going to clickbait you. I'm sure that someone could look back at the whole history of our show and find a case where we released a leak, we covered a leak, it turned out to be wrong, and someone would say, hey, they clickbaited it. And I would just say...
I could tell you one right now. It's the Insta360. Yeah, there's an Insta360 session style thing that was like a fake render that somebody made that we shared.
Did we say it was real?
Yeah, or we said it like seems real and it seems legitimate and we hope this is a product and there's no evidence of it, but it certainly seems like it would be legitimate and then it was totally fake. So like there are cases where we'll share something that I can't vet, but like that's the world we live in, right? So yeah.
I was just going to say I think that we would always feel, maybe incorrectly, but we would always feel that we had a I like to say, is it at least 51% likely to be true?
Yes, I agree with that.
And that, just because maybe sometimes, hopefully rarely, we turn out to be wrong, doesn't mean that we just willy-nilly throw leaks up here just to get clickbait.
What you learn once you start sourcing and handling and doing leaks every week and stuff and information is that if you don't share the things that aren't 100%, you're never going to share anything, because that's how this works. Yeah. Right? This is a leak. This is how the leak culture works. It's like you can't nail things down because that's how people get in trouble. You can't share direct information because that's how people get in trouble, because people aren't responsible with pictures and just share them because they feel like it, which is a huge problem. So yeah, stuff like that.
There's some questions in the chat about remote ID, and maybe they're trying to put remote ID in the O3 air unit, or when remote ID is enforced, will the V1 air unit still be able to be there? I don't want to do a deep dive in that because that's not really the focus of the live stream. There's no need for any relationship at all between the air unit and remote ID, because the air unit at the end of the day is a video transmitter. The only thing that has to have remote ID is a standard remote ID drone where the manufacturer has to put it in. Everything else, all home built drones, etc., will have a remote ID module that you, the builder, will add. And so there's no reason why DJI would need to even think about remote ID as regards to the O3 air unit or the V1 air unit.
Yeah, it's sort of extra work that doesn't really make any sense for them. Exactly. And currently, we can also tell you that like every DJI drone puts out drone ID, which is DJI's thing you pick up with an aeroscope device. Air units and Vistas do not put that out. And we do not expect, I think Air Unit 3 will. It might, who knows, but we don't expect it will, because there's, they have drone ID for drones because they're drones. That's the point of drone ID. So,
right. The flight controller would have remote ID built into it. The drone would have remote ID into it. But if you're buying a discrete component like a video transmitter, it will not have remote ID built into it. There's no need for that. There's no requirement for that. And I don't see any reason why DJI would waste resources doing it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, thought that was important. Well, we're halfway done with our show. It's going to be a long one tonight, but we got to get our plugs out of the way, Blunty. We got to get our plugs. I don't have a little title, a little card down there for plugs. Maybe I should make one. And then we're going to finish up with some more news. Walksnail beat HDZero in a long-range test. Ooh, so you got to tease them before you do the plugs. We'll tell you about that after we do the plugs.
Yeah. So first up, we got FPVknowitall.com, which is your website that you have with the ultimate FPV shopping list, where you can go pick up different products or find out what you need to buy. Today, we're talking to somebody in the Discord chat where people can hang out if they're a patron of yours, and we were talking about how you have some backpacks on the list, and we referenced them so they could check out and see what they needed. So, pretty cool stuff.
Some backpacks I'd like to recommend, check that out. Also, check out ItsBlunty.com. Blunty, somebody said to me, hey, there was that guy you recommended on your live stream who does Zoom calls. Who was he? And I was like, ItsBlunty.com is where you can sign up to do a troubleshooting one-on-one call with Blunty, as well as a couple other things he puts there. He's got a Discord server too. So, definitely check that out. And the Joshua Bardwell live stream clips channel. That's right. Go ahead.
Yeah, last but not least, the Joshua Bardwell live stream clips channel, where I come and post a couple clips a day and cut them out of your live streams and this news episode. So if you missed the live streams, if you missed the news, or you just want to catch it again, or you want to share it to a friend, maybe there's a good segment in there. Most of the good ones I'll pull and put up here for you to share. So good stuff.
Yeah, I love this because, I'll remember a segment from a live stream. There's no way I could ever find it again, but you probably clipped it. And so if you're like, when did Bardwell talk about Express LRS? Just come to this channel, search for Express LRS, and you could probably find it. We're up to 5.5K subscribers. We'd love to have you as a subscriber over there, and make it all worthwhile. Alrighty, that is that. Let's continue with Walksnail.
Yes. So Wesley Vardy, our friendly neighborhood range test pilot and Express LRS developer and all kinds of different things, has done another wonderful range test for us, and he has really pushed it. Before we were looking at 20 kilometers. There were tests that were good, but he was having trouble getting out there, and now we have some crazy range testing out to the limits of each of these systems. So He has tested Avatar, the Avatar Dominator system, at 25 milliwatt on 25 megabit. He does 700 milliwatt at 25 megabit, both on stock Omni, so you can kind of get an idea of those. 1200 milliwatt.
Mm-hmm.
And then also tests out a True RC set, so he can see how those work out along with his triple feed patches, so he can get out to maximum range possible. And as you can see here from the chart, was actually able to beat HDZero. HDZero made it out to 30 kilometers where it was flyable. And then Walksnail Avatar made it up to 31 kilometers where it was flyable. 31 plus, a little over that.
Really? So just barely. Now, I would say to anybody who... No, so first of all, congratulations to Walksnail. The main thing this proves is that the hard 13.3 kilometer limit that DJI has is busted. Walksnail does not have that limit. And he got to 31 kilometers and just basically, he could have gone further, but he didn't have signal. So we don't know what or if there is a max limit on Walksnail.
Yeah, it seems unlikely there's a hard range, or if there is, it's very high. It's more based on just like, how much gain can you get? How good can you get the signal? What's your environment? Like all those kind of questions.
Yeah. And I would encourage anybody who is interested in this result to please go watch Wesley Vardy's video. It's linked down in the show notes in the video description, because as a high altitude, long range flyer, his definition of what a flyable signal looks like is very, very different from like mine when I do more proximity freestyle, which is not to take anything away, just to say that if you think you're going to get 31 kilometers, you should set your expectations by watching his videos. Still, extremely impressive result.
If you can hop to 1510 or 1509 in that video real quick, there's a cool little clip there. 1509. He's got a good comparison of like the idea of like, here's what it was like at 30.
We can see it's a little muddy.
There.
There's still a little bit of detail.
Yeah.
But what did DJI do? Hold on, I was looking at on the left side. I wasn't looking at the right side.
It just doesn't work. It was the idea. But it's just an idea of like, at this range, HDZero is also out there, but it's a totally different picture, right? You're really comparing that HD picture with a higher latency, and quite a higher latency. We looked at SRTs and it was quite high at that range. It says 38. That is a lie. We know that.
Right. It's jumping up and down. That 38 is maybe cherry picked, or we just froze on the wrong frame.
It just lies. 100% lie.
Oh, it's just 100% lying. Wow, that's not okay. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
If it's above 38, it reports 38, or at least that's how it looks from his SRT.
Oh my God, you're right. It's just locked at 38. That's not. But the SRT shows the actual higher latency.
It's like 50 to 100 milliseconds. Kind of up there, and there's a lot of jumping and stuff. Obviously, HDZero is locked here, but instead you're getting the jumping in the picture, where you're getting a lot of that spotting and stuff as it starts to drop. So
what's interesting about this to me is that as a long range pilot, I don't care about 60 or 100 milliseconds of latency,
right?
And I don't care. It's doing a kind of a really good job of holding the picture that I might need. Well, honestly, this is really pretty impressive.
So I agree with you, but if you flip one more, let's look at one more section. So if you start at like 1153 and then play from there.
Can do.
Yeah. And you'll see he's right there. He's about 6.7 kilometers out. And so this is the difference in digital. This is something you're not going to get with HDZero, or at least you will, but it's going to take much more to have this happen.
Oh. Well, bye-bye. Oh, it's back. You're right. HDZero will never do that. It might go to like rainbow static.
Yeah, but you're not going to lose it just doesn't drop, right? And you don't get a freeze. So
yeah,
I think that's sort of the thing that people need to consider is like, it's great and it looks great, but there was a blackout in there, and where are you going to get that blackout, and what's going to happen? Is it going to recover, and where's it going to happen? And like, there are differences there. So I just want to be totally transparent about that.
Yeah, we're losing the OSD. I think we're losing the OSD, or is it just he's flipping it on and off?
I think he had another little black spot in there too as he was speeding through that.
Interesting. Well, there is now at least another viable choice for long range and digital.
Well,
so
something to
exciting.
consider is if you are going this range, you're going to have GPS recovery anyway, or you should, unless you're crazy. So if you do lose that video and you do black out, you can always hit that switch if you're scared until you get it back. So yeah, interesting and cool to see that range.
Yeah, very interesting.
And one more announcement from Walksnail today. So since we're talking about Walksnail,
oh god,
this is going to shock everybody. Brace yourself, okay? Everybody, get ready. This is going to be some game-changing news that nobody has ever expected or
we did not
for.
see this. We did not see this coming, Blunty. No one could have seen this coming.
Nobody predicted this. Today, Walksnail Global has announced, in order to consolidate resources and concentrate content, Walksnail and CaddxFPV have decided to merge operations. Can you believe it?
I don't know what to say. You know, all this time people have been saying Walksnail and Caddx are the same company, and they have been saying, no, we are separate companies. And now they're like, okay, we changed our mind.
Yeah. It's been enough time. Let's do it.
I don't know. Okay, fine. Great. Thanks, guys. It's like you know, like the villain says, and now I will reveal that I was really the old man the whole time. They're like, no, we know your mask wasn't actually very convincing.
We saw 20 minutes ago. We've been waiting for this to happen.
We've just been waiting for you to let us know.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Walksnail and Caddx are the same company. So do we still call it? Are we just going to call it Caddx from now on? Can we stop saying the word? Because Walksnail is a little.
Yeah, they say what they're not going to take. Walksnail.com will stop accepting payments for any Walksnail-related product needs. So I don't know. It kind of seems like they might take it on Caddx now and just kind of move everything over there. So Walksnail seems to become a brand under Caddx like it was for months and months and months before that.
I don't even. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for letting us know, Caddx. We're all really surprised, and good for you. People before the stream thought you were going to rant about this. I don't know. Is this rant worthy, or is it just a big giant eye roll?
It's just really dumb. Like, it just feels really dumb. This whole thing feels really dumb. Mm-hmm. Like, the only world is that you could have a contract that says you couldn't make a competing product to DJI and you had to form another company to make the project. And now that they broke off with DJI, now they're putting it back together. But does that make any sense, really?
I don't know.
To me, that seems like a real stretch. But why else would you do this, right? Like, maybe just something back-end money thing, maybe totally an investor thing. You know, maybe there's other things we can't see. But feels real dumb. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I will say that business in China be crazy, yo.
True.
So yeah. I don't grasp it, and I don't pretend to have great insight, but I have sort of incidentally seen enough of it that it doesn't, they're just constantly starting new companies. There's just the same person will shut down one company and open a new company with a brand new name. And you're like, wait, didn't you used to be company A? Oh, now we're company B. And who knows why? Tax reasons, I don't know. But okay, Walksnail and Caddx are the same company now.
Today, I mean, the biggest thing I have here is just why was this ever... why did you call the new company Walksnail, I guess, is the most confusing part to me. If it was a Dodge, why would you name it the same brand you've been selling as other things for so long? That's the part that seems crazy.
We'll never know.
You would name it some new thing that's not related to Caddx as a company because you're trying to dodge. That's the whole point. That's the part I don't get. So if that wasn't the case, who knows? We'll probably never know. But now we'll never have to worry about it again because they are back together.
Brett in the comments wants to know, and I don't think we know the answer, but if I bought a Walksnail product, is Caddx going to still support that product and warranty the product? Presumably, Walksnail as a company will continue to exist as a subsidiary of Caddx, which is always what they were.
I think
so. Really, nothing's changed. Nothing has changed.
I think everything is the same. This is just an official announcement. That's my opinion.
Okay. Well, good to know.
The money's going into a new account.
Great.
Yeah.
Good for you. Next up, we have this is a weird one, Blunty. I didn't look into this one before the news, and I don't understand why you've included it. DRL partners with Google Cloud for Silicon Valley Kickoff Race and Data Challenge. Tell me why this is cool and I should care, because the headline just confuses me.
All right. Well, so DRL is partnered with Google Cloud, which is pretty cool, I think. it's going to be cool for other people, basically. So there's two parts of this. One is the Cloud Fly Cup. So, Google Cloud's all about developer-focused stuff, make cool shit, get data, like all that stuff, right? So basically what they're going to do is they're going to let people register to compete, to provide data for DRL to enhance performance during the season, and then that evidence will help you win this competition, essentially. So
I'm gonna have access to DRL race data, like telemetry analytics. I'm gonna be able to look at Vanover's stick positions throughout the race or whatever, and then I'm gonna analyze that data, and then I'm gonna go to Vanover and be like, "Look, you're dropping your throttle when you turn right," or something like that kind of a thing.
Or my algorithm is going to spit out exactly what's wrong every time. Or like I'm going to give you a confidence rating about all the problems that you have. Or like from a developer point of view, like what could you do, right? I think that's sort of the idea. And then all those people will compete, and then you'll win a trip to the season finale of DRL. So
okay, well that's cool. All right, well anything where FPV community members could do something cool and win something cool. I mean, I kind of see the value in that. That's kind of my motivation between the whole Terrence Howard linchpin thing. It's like, hey, you could win some money, go for it. Is that basically the gist of this? People in
pretty much
the FPV community who do kind of data analytics, Google Cloud stuff might want to participate and compete?
Yeah, or people who don't, which might also be interesting. If there's other people who are like Google Cloud developers who find out about this, it might be cool to see those people compete in. They don't know much about FPV, but they do know about the data, and then they use the data to find stuff that we might not intuitively know about.
Well, that would be interesting. If they could tell us something about drone racing that we don't already know. If you could tell us something about drone racing that Vanover doesn't already know, then that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah. And the other thing is there's a drone race in Silicon Valley. So if anybody's interested, DRL is doing a race in October, on October the 11th. So if you wanted to go, they're selling tickets for that. And you can check it out in San Jose, California.
Nice. All right. We got one more piece of DRL news. The roster for the upcoming season has been announced, and there have been a pretty big shakeup.
Yeah, quite a shakeup. I think there's quite a shakeup here. So I don't know if you want to watch the little reveal video there or just check out the spreadsheet.
No, we're going straight. Would I like to watch a video or look at a spreadsheet? Which
I think we know the answer, don't we? Okay.
I've got you know that secret folder on your phone that you don't let anybody look at because it's got your mine has spreadsheets in it.
Hey, look how many spreadsheets I made for this episode. Okay.
Oh, I'll be looking at them later, I assure you.
All right. So on the left, we've got the 2021 roster, and we know that didn't change a lot over the course of the years. Like we got a few changes, but a lot of those guys have been around for quite a while. That were there. And this year we got quite a switch up. So we've only got 5 pilots sticking around, and one of the leaving pilots, one of the changing pilots, is Heads Up, who will no longer be defending his titles on DRL.
Wow.
He's going out the victor.
Well, and this is a big deal because Min-Chan Kim is going to be in this season. And I don't see how Evan Turner could resist the opportunity to go head-to-head against Vanover and Min-Chan Kim, defending the title after winning last year. But apparently Evan is just like, nah, I'm out. Now, if we were a professional news organization, we would have reached out to Evan for a statement. I'm going to guess we didn't do that.
I did not do that.
Okay, well, that's okay. I never expected us to be a professional. I could have done that too, and I didn't do that. Yeah. It probably would have been some meaningless political drivel anyway. Leaving to pursue other opportunities. Really had a great time. We'll always value these memories, etc.
Well, it's more fun to speculate. In this case.
Of course. There you go.
But yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting season. There's a lot of new guys, a lot of young people that are on there, a lot of names that people maybe don't know or have seen a little bit in the different racing scenes. There's also a lot of people from different locations in the world, which is kind of interesting, something we haven't seen a lot. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting this season, and hopefully they can keep it all mixed up and MCK doesn't just slay everybody.
Now, I said, when we were talking about this before the show, I said, Min-Chan Kim is good, but, and no one should ever say that, first of all. Any sentence that starts with, Min-Chan Kim is good, but I don't know if he can, no, you're wrong. Because I was going to say, it's a very different kind of quad than he's used to flying, the Racer 4. It's bigger, it's heavier, and you linked to some practice footage of Min-Chan Kim, my first Racer 4, about 30 packs in. How good could he be? I gotta stop the music just in case, but let's full screen this. Oh, there we go. There's no music now.
30 packs into a brand new drone, totally different size, 1,250 grams.
Okay. I kind of like this because I can see what he's doing better than when he flies 5-inch, like the way he pre-turns.
Yep.
But it's slower because the quad is slower. I actually feel like I'm learning more about how he flies from watching. Jesus! I've only ever seen him pre-turn like that in the sim, and I was like, oh, that's just the sim. Nope, it turns out it's real life. All right, well, everyone else in DRL is screwed. Sorry, guys, you're done.
If you make that video go small again and check out that first comment there.
Yeah.
It's from Mr. Alex Vanover.
Me realizing I need to step it up. He's insane.
Yep.
He's
insane. Gonna be a good one. Gonna be a good one.
How do you pre-turn that far in advance and know that you're doing it right? I don't understand. Like, I never claim to be fast, obviously. I always have to see the apex throughout the turn. I'm looking at the apex. It presumes that I have an apex that I'm trying to hit. Haha. But he just goes, we're looking this way now. Zoop.
I think, once you get to a certain point of racing, you can't watch it anymore. You just got to use muscle memory, and you got to know the gut, and you just got to hit it. Practice. I mean, that's only 30 packs with that drone in, and he's already doing those pre-turns. So it's going to be a fun one.
He's so good.
It's going to be a fun one.
I can only assume Evan dropped out because he just wants to be doing he's working for 533, his company. Yes. He's working with Beverly Hills Aerials. He's out there in the world, and are they doing another like half real world, half simulator season?
I believe so. I think it's another split season where it'll be partial simulator stuff and partial real stuff. Yeah.
I know Vanover was annoyed. Vanover doesn't race as much in the sim. He prefers to fly in real life. And I think he was a little annoyed that he'd be doing really well with the real quad, and then they go to a sim race and somebody would beat him, and he was like, I just don't want to I don't want to do 1,000 packs in the sim. I don't care. I wonder if Evan might have been more interested in staying if they had done a full real season instead of half sim. I don't know. We're making things up, but
yeah.
Alex was second place last season, and he's like, I'm coming hard, and it's like, well, I'm sorry to tell you that Min-Chan Kim is here now. So just
MCK
everybody
entered
everybody else just goes down one slot.
It's going to be fun. And not to downplay any of these other guys. Poelos is extremely fast. All these guys are here for a reason. So Hyper is extremely fast. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a good season.
I'm still going to be...
Halo Walker is still
Halo Walker. All of them are fast. I'm dying to see if anybody gives Min-Chan a run for his money or if he just mops up the floor.
Yeah.
So we shall see.
And just I'll just say one more thing is a shout out to Gab707 for being there still. I think he was the longest pilot already, and he's still there, still repping the original DRL, or at least I think very early DRL squad. So.
Yeah.
And competing, heavily competing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He does it all. He does cinematic stuff. He does mountain flying, and apparently races too.
Yeah.
Alrighty. We got one more story before we get into It's Barely News. People last week asked, where is It's Barely News? That is not correct. No, that's it. That was the story. It's time for It's Barely News.
That is correct.
I didn't skip a story this week.
First up, people are going to recognize this from if they've been around the drones for a while, but this is a little bit of a twist on what people are used to. Berkeley has been working on some testing of angled drone motors. So we know about angled drone motors because there were, frames and setups quite early on where you would do angled drone motors, and that was kind of the way you built drones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of switched, and then we just let it so that when the drone tilts, the motors go with it, and we're not that worried about it, and it seems to fly fine because we have camera tilt now, not a big deal. However, they did a lot of testing, and they found that by using a spring loading mechanism on the arms, basically what happens is as you increase thrust, the springs will engage. And what happens is, or disengage, I guess, whichever way you look at it. So in certain flight characteristics, they'll be untilted, and then in certain characteristics, they'll be tilted. And based on that, they were able to get gains in both flight modes based on these changes, which is kind of interesting.
You're saying these are spring-loaded, and they automatically tilt to match the direction of the incoming air or whatever. It's not like there's a servo actuator.
That's correct.
Which was always the weak spot.
Exactly. This is a difference from a lot of other solutions was, that you basically, you needed to have servos or you needed to keep them stationary. And instead they use these spring mechanisms, which automatically do it based on thrust and angle.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. I mean, I still don't think we're going to see 5-inch racing drones doing that for durability reasons, but it's still kind of clever. Everything old is new again, I guess is what you say.
Yeah.
We got 3D printing with drones.
Yeah, we looked at this a little bit from a trade show, but it was tethered, and we were a little questionable about how good it would be just free flying. Well, they've been diving in, and these are just free flying 3D printing drones, which they're trying to build onto. And the idea is basically that, like, as you can see, like a mud dauber is what we call them in Alabama.
No, unacceptable. Continue.
But they build basically nests from this material, and they build it up over time. It doesn't have to be necessarily perfect, and you can get different structures and solutions out of it. So they're trying a bunch of different options with these, and they're totally free-flying drones that maybe, it seems like, able to 3D print objects and stuff on the fly or in places you couldn't do otherwise.
It's interesting that it looks like the actual print head is articulated, so it's not just the drone flying that's doing all the movement. Also,
I bet they have to do micro corrections at the end.
Oh, yeah. Also, the drone has reflective balls on it, so it's using it's not autonomous. It's using an external position sensing.
Right.
Doesn't surprise me, I guess. Okay, that's kind of cool. Well, the last up on It's Barely News, drone over stadium. Oh, no, I heard about this. There were 2 football games interrupted by drones.
Yes. Yeah, so I figured we'd quickly let you know that. Yeah, 2 more drone delays happened back to back. It was kind of interesting. 2 days in a row. They had 2 different games stopped by drones. One Falcon Seahawks game and one University of Washington and Stanford. So.
Oh, man.
It's unfortunate that people are doing that stuff. It wasn't a big deal. Only like an 8-minute delay for one and a little longer for the other, but it's kind of a bummer. It's interesting to hear the guys talk because they're like, what do we do? We'll just wait.
Yeah. I heard they got the players got the players off the field because they were concerned about safety, but the drone went away. All right, well, don't fly your drones over football games, you dumbasses. Of course.
That's
Ken
good.
Heron.
Yeah.
Ken Heron. Was it you? I don't know if it was Ken. Cool.
All right.
Before we go, we got to read the super chats. There are only 2 super chats today. One from Guillermo Despolo. Thank you for 200, I believe, Argentinian pesos. Say happy birthday to me, Bardwell. I'm 50 already. Happy birthday, Guillermo. I hear he's going to make an edit of some of the noises I made on my last live stream. So looking forward to that. And Ken Heron was here. Ken Heron, thank you for a $10 super chat. He says, "I feels like I'm learning something today, or I'm gassy." Ken Heron, the guy who gets out of more speeding tickets, more traffic tickets than I do, basically. Don't know how he does it. Just charming, I guess. Yeah. Let's see here. That's going to bring us to the end. Thank you so much, folks, for coming out for the FPV news. We're here every Tuesday at 6 p.m. with more news from the world of FPV. If there's news that you think we need to cover, email it to news@fpvknowitall.com, and we will think about adding it. We actually have several submitted items that we pushed to next week because we knew this was going to be a long one. So if you did submit something and we didn't get to it, come back next week. It'll probably be there.
Yeah, but 9 stories that we cut from today's news.
Well, good thing, because it's like 20 after. So
yes, for a reason.
But we will see you next week. Great show, Blunty. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Take it easy, guys.
There we